to be from this city. You know, they say if Kamala wins, then the whole country will be like Detroit. Okay?
They say if Kamala wins, the whole country will be like Detroit. We can hardly wait. The ammo is flying off the shelves all over America. There won't be any jobs, just gangs and crime and empty buildings. And, the Democrats, they're making everything better. That was Lizzo. You know Lizzo? She had a press conference at the truck scales on the way into the city of, and apparently all her friends, what are they, Michael? They're bitches and hoes. And what's she gonna do? Well, that's Lizzo. She's campaigning for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They just keep it classy everywhere, don't they? Hey, Democrats, stop shooting people. How about that? Just a thought. Well, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Sorry, so a little bit of a course open, but it's the Democrat Party's presidential campaign that surfaced this stuff. This Lizzo person, who is not a quality person by any definition, and just an extraordinary. I was reading the lyrics to one of her songs. It's the girls, but it's misspelled because Democrats love misspelling everything. They like illiteracy. They advance the cause of illiteracy everywhere they go. Girls, Grrrls. That's how girls is spelled, because you want the next generation to be as ignorant and illiterate as the current generation. The school-to-prison pipeline will live on. And I was reading the lyrics of this song, Girls, because Lizzo is the person's name. Might have a real name, but it's not out of the question that her actual name is Lizzo. And she's campaigning for Kamala and for Tim Walz. And she's saying stuff that might require bleeping, just like her lyrics, because the Democrats, what is it, Michael? They be loving the B words and the hoes. I think that's the thing with them. It's amazing stuff. I want to get to some of this because this is what the Democrats are, doing for the country. And again, she opened with, if Kamala wins, she'll make the whole country like Detroit. And did anybody cheer that? Or they it's going to be, the whole country is going to be like, because the whole world wants to emulate Detroit.
I'm so proud to be from this city. You know, they say if Kamala wins, then the whole country will be like Detroit. Okay?
Way, yay, that's, yeah. Yeah, because the whole world really aspires to be more like Detroit. Detroit in the 1950s, before the Democrats destroyed it, was actually a really cool place in all kinds of ways, industrially and economically, and music and all kinds of wonderful things going on there. But that was long ago and far away. You may or may not be aware that I flew on Thursday with my best girl to Chicago, Illinois. We went to Chicago Thursday evening, and I did the big radio broadcast from WLS in Chicago on Friday, and then we had a Politics and a Pint just outside of the city of Chicago on Friday night, and it was a big smash hit. It was great. Wonderful, wonderful. And then my best girl and I, we spent the weekend in Chicago with my brothers and family and had a great Chicago time. Came home yesterday, Sunday, to get back to work because, work, got to get back to work. But in any case, I've got some Lizzo coming up for you because the Democrats, honestly, they are the third world. It's not that they will turn the country into a third world country, which they're in the process of doing. And but honestly, they are the third world. And I've been telling you about this for years. Wherever the left goes, and make no mistake about it, they're the left. They're not liberals. And they're turning the country into a third world country because the left is the third world. They bring the third world with them like a doctor brings a black bag with a stethoscope in it. They are the third world. And I want to get into what these third world people are doing to the United States of America. And in the name of making the country like Detroit. That's pretty amazing stuff, I got to say. But that's not all, because there's a lot more, of course. CBS News, 60 Minutes, they put out a statement about their corrupt edits of their Kamala Harris interview, and it's more embarrassing than the edits. The statement itself, they attack Trump in the statement because they're a front group for the Democrat Party. 60 Minutes, and for that matter, CBS News. It's a tragedy. It really is. But I've got the ridiculous statement for you and the attack on President Trump. President Trump, in the meantime, is out there on the campaign trail, and he did some pretty amazing stuff over the weekend, including going to McDonald's and working at McDonald's for longer than Kamala Harris ever worked at McDonald's. And the news media, they continue to lie about it. And they just lie, and they lie, the filthy, dirty, stinking, rotten liars that call themselves the American news media. I've got that stuff. Man, oh, man. And I love this, too. Angela Rye on CNN says that white folks, white people, not that the party of the KKK and the Confederacy are racist even to this day, except they are racist even to this day. Angela Rye tells CNN that white folks must face accountability for not showing up to save democracy if Kamala Harris doesn't win. This is that save democracy. They had to kill democracy in order to save it. They had to destroy democracy in order to save it. They're the most anti-democratic, undemocratic filth that this country certainly has ever seen. Third world countries have seen this kind of thing before, but the third world is the Democrat Party. Make no mistake, and they're planning on drowning the baby in the bassinet once again, and ideally harvesting the organs, because, you know, they like to harvest the organs. Amazing stuff. And Kamala Harris and McDonald's. I love this, the New York Times. They've got a story, Kamala Harris and McDonald's, a college job and a Trump attack. And they use the old without evidence line. Trump says she didn't work at McDonald's without evidence. You know what? She's the one that has to show evidence. Isn't it funny, like with Brett Kavanaugh, you don't have to show any evidence, and with Donald Trump, you don't have to show any evidence. But with Kamala Harris doesn't have to show evidence that she worked at McDonald's. She just says, like, I was a fighter pilot in World War II. And Donald Trump says, no, you weren't. And the New York Times says, Donald Trump says she wasn't a fighter pilot in World War II without evidence. I mean, our news media is just filth. It's really horrible what has happened here. And Trump serves up McDonald's drive-thru. You saw him at the McDonald's drive-thru. As people driving up to the McDonald's drive-thru, and President Trump was handing them their bags with a McDonald's apron on and having nice talk with them. And Kamala was powwowing with Satan. Did you see? It's pretty amazing stuff. Kamala, last week, she was at some kind of a political event. They're rare, they're few and far between, but she was at a political event. And what were they yelling from the crowd, Michael? They were yelling, "Hail Satan!" I think they were yelling, "Hail Satan!" And Kamala was pounding her chest and saying, "Yes, hail Satan!" All right, that's only a slight exaggeration, but it's someone yelled in the crowd, "Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord," at a Kamala rally, and she said, "Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. Oh, you guys, this is the party of the after-school Satan Club, all right, and of Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and of Satan, of after-school Satan Club. They have after-school Satan Club." And someone in a crowd, not a very big crowd, yelled, "Jesus is Lord," and she declared, "You guys are at the wrong rally." Now, honestly, what more do you need to know?
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
And then they killed them. The mob killed them, and they hanged them upside down from lampposts by their ankles. And they ate their organs. It was like Night of the Living Dead in Iran. What if Night of the Living Dead were in Iran? It'd be different, similar but different. And then, interestingly, over the weekend, JD Vance was at a much larger rally, and someone in the crowd yelled, "Jesus is King. Jesus is King." And you know what JD Vance said when someone yelled, Jesus is king?
As a person who was baptized for the first time just a few years ago, there is something really bizarre with Kamala Harris's anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen...
Someone yelled, Jesus is king. That's right, Jesus is king. Kamala Harris then impaled a baby on a pike and gargled in its blood. And she said, because she speaks for the Democrat Party now. And pretty amazing stuff. Now, it doesn't even matter if you're a church-going person or not. When someone, there's just basic civility and politeness and Western civilization, and you're running to be president of the United States, not just the Satan-worshiping, baby-sacrificing portion of the United States, which is, to be entirely fair, the Democrat Party's program and their platform here. They love Satan, they hate God, dog is their co-pilot, and they sexually abuse children and try to change their genders and do all kinds of completely crazy stuff. But I wasn't even going to get into that now, but we got into that. We got into that now, and the audio is quite amazing. But in any case, President Trump making French fries, something Kamala Harris never did, even though she lies about having done it, just like Tim Walz lies about carrying a weapon of war in combat. It's like he lied about going to Iraq. It's like he lied about being a command sergeant major, just like he lied about being head coach of a state championship high school football team. What else does he lie about? He lies about a whole lot of stuff. But when you're a Democrat, the New York Times says, well, wait a minute. You point out that he's not a command sergeant major, that he didn't go to Iraq, that he didn't carry a weapon of war in war, and then they yell at you at the New York Times that you say that without evidence. No, that's not how that works. You see, they have to provide evidence that they were in Iraq, that they were a command sergeant major, and that now at this point they've got to somehow prove that they don't worship Satan. Satan. Just amazing stuff. And what is Kamala doing to campaign? Nothing, really. She's getting a tongue bath by the people of the New York Times and CNN and beyond. Amazing stuff. So we've got that going, and we are. What do we know, Michael? We are getting close. We're 15 days away from Election Day. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and that means it's 2 weeks from Election Day tomorrow. And then what will happen? Because who is it we had last week telling us that don't expect that we're going to know the winner of the election on Election Day? Democrats, because the state of Georgia might be guilty of something ahead of time. They can tell. They can see the future because of their relationship with Satan. They can see what's going to happen in the future. Pretty amazing stuff. And I love this. They're attacking Elon Musk. The fake news media is. Elon Musk said, planned cash giveaways. Elon Musk planned cash giveaways for voters. Wait a minute, that's the Democrats' business. With Kamala promising $20,000. What do they call it? Non-refundable loans, which is a giveaway of other people's money. And Joe Biden, with the Supreme Court, ruled it to be illegal and unconstitutional, the cash giveaways to pay off student loans. And the news media is all fine with that because they give Satan a tongue bath. Just amazing stuff. And the news media very upset. And wait a minute, Elon Musk is giving out these kind of lottery-winning awards, and the news media very upset. Got an update on Hamas. The Democrats are in bed with Hamas. They love Hamas, and they hate the Jews. Why do they hate the Jews? Even their Jews hate the Jews. What have they done to them? Alec Baldwin was on Saturday Night Live night before last. He did not shoot anyone that I'm aware of. Did he shoot anyone? Got to remember that guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people. Just amazing stuff. But he was on Saturday Night Live night before last because he's welcome back into the fold. He only killed one woman. It's like having Ted Kennedy on. When you're a Democrat, you get a mulligan. You get to kill at least one woman when you're a Democrat, whether you're Alec Baldwin or Ted Kennedy. And if you're Bill Clinton, all the sexual assaults, and Hillary gets more than one kill, but that's another thing. Jordan Neely, who accidentally killed a crazy psychotic person on a New York City subway, his trial begins, jury selection begins today, and the Democrats want to hang him from the highest yard arm. We are at 888-630-9625. The party of Lizzo and Satan, they're looking for your vote and your children's organs. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Jeff, formerly of Hagerstown, now coming from an undisclosed location. Jeff, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
It's a long story, Chris. I'll spare you the details. So, anyway, I relocated to Milton, Delaware, and that's the story with that. And so I've got this, since we're on a Lizzo musical thing, and I kind of thought about this when Corinne retires or resigns from her position. She could go into the music business herself. She could be misinformation, and her backup singers could be the disinformations. So you got misinformation and the disinformations singing their hit tunes, including Top of Mind and Let Me Be Perfectly Clear.
Let me be her big hit song. Let me be perfectly clear. And they could have like Jen Psaki come in and do backup. With Circle Back, her hit song Circle Back.
AOC with I'm a bartender or whatever. But hey, when you were in Chicago, I know you grew up there. Did you ever drink Old Style, Chris?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
I'm unfamiliar with that beer. Was it a pretty decent beer?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and in fact, over the weekend, I didn't have an Old Style over the weekend, but one of my brothers had an Old Style. While we were out having beers, which we did repeatedly. I've got to say, but I like your idea for Cringe starting her own band and misinformation, and they could. They steal songs and not be sued. Like, she could sing misinformation, right? Misinformation, it's
nice.
Making me wait.
Nice.
Because she, and they just lie and they lie and they lie. It's the Soviet Union around here. Again, it's Elena Gorakova and her book, A Mountain of Crumbs, They lie to us. We know they're lying to us. We know they're lying to us, and they keep lying to us. The Democrats and power, the left. Really shouldn't even call them the Democrat Party anymore. Should just call them the left, because that's who they are. They're fundamentally un-American, anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-children, anti-normal, that's for sure. At our Politics and a Pint in Chicago, it was one of the nice people there was wearing a Remember Normal T-shirt. Remember, another man wearing a I Survived the Wuhan Red Death T-shirt. But that's not important right now, because there's a lot to talk about today, as you might expect, and there's an article in the Washington Examiner, the George Soros radio deal that has the GOP in uproar. And this is kind of an amazing story. The corrupt Biden administration, the permanent bureaucracy, the deep state, the FCC, they fast-tracked a radical left-wing extremist takeover of a major radio company in the United States of America, because they're that corrupt. They are that third world. They're that banana republic-y. But I want to get to this story with you, the Washington Examiner, on George Soros buying these radio stations, and the Biden-Harris administration, the FCC, fast-tracking the purchase just ahead of the election, because they demand total information dominance, like the third world banana boat pirates that they are, very corrupt people. But Gabe Kaminsky, writing at the Washington Examiner, the George Soros radio deal that has the GOP in uproar, George Soros, the kingmaker of chaos, has done it again. The article begins. Weeks before the 2024 election, the Democrat mega donor has notched a victory in his endless pursuit to gain influence over the news media landscape in the United States in a 3-2 vote, sending shockwaves throughout the Republican Party. The Federal Communications Commission in September allowed a nonprofit group that makes a lot of profit, funded by George Soros, to take control over radio giant Odyssey, Audacy, after the company went bankrupt. The deal places the Soros family, namely Alex Soros, the 38-year-old son of George Soros, the one who is dating, I'm using euphemism, Humma Weiner. His new girlfriend is Humma Weiner, and Humma Weiner got herself a boyfriend. What are they worth? $60 billion or something like that. You know, private airliners and skyscrapers and all that stuff, but never mind that. So Alex Soros, the 38-year-old radical, is never earned a penny in his life, but the Democrats like him, even though he inherited everything. He's never done anything, but the left, they'll just take the power and the money where they can get it, right? So they took over Odyssey, top media empire that houses more than 200 radio stations. Alex Soros sits on the board of the Fund for Policy Reform. It's a fund. Policy reform is just communism disguised as do-good. The group now overseeing Odyssey with a labyrinth of corporations. You think any of them are the Biden family corporations? Because they've got 20-something corporations, and nobody knows what they do at any of those 20-something. What business are they in? The 4-person board of trustees also includes Soros spokesman Michael Vachon and attorney Marianne Canfield at Soros Fund Management. That's the firm that bought Odyssey's debt and took over the 200-plus radio stations. And Leonard Bernardo, a top staffer from the Soroses' Open Society Foundation, which is here to destroy the world. And they, do you think they worship Satan over there? I don't know. It's an open question. But in the telling of Republicans on Capitol Hill and within the FCC's ranks, as well as top conservative media insiders who spoke to the Washington Examiner, the Odyssey deal is a big sham. It's a big sham. The acquisition of the radio stations, Republicans say, was fast-tracked to benefit billionaire Democrats and help the Biden-Harris administration and, of course, the Harris presidential campaign. In doing so, FCC member Brendan Carr said in an interview that it was unprecedented. Of course it was. Now, this is pretty crazy stuff that they allowed this to happen, but that's how corrupt they are. They're like the Hugo Chavez regime when it comes to being anti-American and un-American. They're anti-Western, they're anti-Bill of Rights, but they're drunk with power and they assume that information dominance is theirs. They must own all the media, own the message, because that's where power comes from. That and, of course, the barrel of a gun, as an official in the Obama administration famously said that they agree with Chairman Mao. A number of Obama administration people cited their admiration for Chairman Mao, history's #1 mass murderer and killer commie, and they love him. They think he's great. Oh, Mao, let's be more like Mao. We're going to need bulldozers for more mass graves after not too long. So conservative criticism of the FCC's handling of the Odyssey deal also stems from a deeper and more fundamental frustration with the philanthropy of Soros, which has positioned him to be a dominant force in media as the right raises concerns over the digital censorship that the left is pushing, right? Now, George Soros is 94 years old, and he bankrolls these left-wing organizations, right? And they take over. A friend of mine was involved in this, too. They censor conservative voices online. Odyssey's portfolio includes conservative programs such as Miami's Radio Libre. That's a Spanish language AM radio station, big with Cuban Americans that fled communism and recognize has all the earmarks. What is it? The 51, the Felonious 51 intelligence people said that the reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation or misinformation. These guys have all the earmarks of the Communist Party. And that sounds like hyperbole or rhetoric, but ask anybody that's fled a communist country and is now watching what's going on in the United States. Doesn't matter what the kind. It can be Nicaragua or Hungary or the Soviet Union or communist China or North Korea. Ask any of them, and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, this is what it smells like. Pretty amazing stuff. Yeah, and they want to take over the Spanish language because, you remember Barack Obama warned us all we better learn Spanish because the Democrats are opening the floodgates to make this a non-English-speaking nation. They're not on our side. Amazing stuff. Man, oh, man. And Mark Levin, also known as the Great One. Mark Levin, here in the Washington Examiner article, Mark Levin views the acquisition as a manifestation of Soros's goal to control as much of the airwaves as possible. Of course, 100% true, George Soros isn't doing it because he's a public interest citizen, Mark Levin said. He said he's doing it because he's power hungry. The guy is an ideologue with billions of dollars. He puts this money where his mouth is. And that's a fact check. The radical left is, they're coming for your rights. The left is coming for your rights. Mark Levin said it's just rotten to the core, the deal and the sweetheart and the fast tracking and the just amazing stuff. It's just rotten to the core, bastardizing the entire process. They did it before the election because they want to affect the election, Mark Levin said. One of the stations he's acquiring is the old WCAU, which is now WPHT, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a key swing state, one of the original radio stations in the United States, in the whole country. And honestly, like the radio station I'm at right now, WMAL, came online in 1925. That will be 100 years next year. WLS in Chicago, where I just was on Friday and over the weekend, it came online in 1924, 100 years ago this year. And it should be noted that my family has been on the air nonstop for 100 years as well, since 1924. My mother's father, after coming home from World War I, started his radio career in 1924, and went on to become the most famous radio broadcaster in America by 1927. I don't go around and take credit for what other people have done, even my grandfather and stuff, but never mind that. So the left and their boy, George Soros, not on our side, buying power wherever they can. Just like the Biden administration paying off your student loans, buying your vote, and Kamala saying, hey, if you're black, I'm going to give you $20,000. We're going to call it a loan, but you don't have to pay it back, because they're crooks and they're buying influence and buying votes. It's the old-fashioned way, like, Chicago. They'd give you some walking around money, and don't forget to vote for the Democrat Party, right? And that's what the Democrats are doing on a national level now, but they found a way to do it with taxpayer dollars. That's how third world these people are. Just amazing people. So we've got that. And we're going to get to President Trump at McDonald's. We're going to get to Lizzo keeping it classy for the Democrats, bunch of hoes that they are, bunch of B words and hoes that they are. And what is that? Using the P word, the B word, and the H word, because the Democrats, they want the whole country to be like a criminal gang shooting each other in like at a backyard barbecue in a hellhole city. That's what the Democrats are working on. And again, if you yell, Jesus is Lord, she tells you, Kamala does, that you're at the wrong rally, and they all laugh, and then they worship Satan and gargle in the blood of innocents. JD Vance, yell, Jesus is king, and he says, yeah, that's right, Jesus is king. Pretty amazing stuff. So there's a lot on our plate today. Let's go back to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Bill calling from Chevy Chase, Maryland. William, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, Chris, this is interesting. Donald Trump, I'm assuming a lot of people have seen Donald Trump working at the McDonald's yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And he hands out a bag of fast food to a very surprised Brazilian woman.
Right.
Who pulls up to the takeout window. And she says, don't let happen in this country what happened in my native country. And Trump says something like, don't worry, I won't. And then as he hands her the bag of fast food, he says, thank you, darling. And I'm thinking, this is like John Wayne. And reminded me of something I saw involving fast food. In Moscow during the breakup of the Soviet Union, I was writing a book about it. I worked for a large and powerful news gathering organization I'm not going to name, but I was working on a book about the breakup of the Soviet Union. And I'm at the Parliament building. There are tanks surrounding the building. Holdout Democrats are inside. And protesters were surrounding the building holding hands. It was like Woodstock or something. And these tanks kept getting closer and closer. And as the day wore on, it was a Sunday. And as the day wore on, you could see people getting hungry, tired, whatever it was. And the demonstrators started to leave, and the tanks would move closer. And about a year earlier, maybe 6, 7, 8 months earlier, a McDonald's and a Pizza Hut and a Baskin Robbins had opened in downtown McDonald's. Now, the McDonald's wasn't more than about 3 or 4 blocks away from where all this was going on. And there were people lined up to go into the McDonald's. But at any rate, 2 little Neva trucks, like Russian Soviet vans, pull up to the demonstrator, where the demonstrators were, and start unloading free pizzas and McDonald's stuff. And suddenly, people started to come back, eating the fast food. Result, the end of the Soviet Union. So fast food, in one sense, brought an end to the Soviet Union, and we could see the same thing happening here with Trump working at the McDonald's yesterday in Pittsburgh, or outside of Pittsburgh.
I like it. That's a really fun story. That story is in your book, I take it.
Well, there's how fast food, and I can't remember the name of the title, the chapter title, but the book is called Red Tape: Adventure Capitalism in the New Russia. But Dutton was the publisher. But I think that the chapter was called something like How Fast Food Wrecked the Soviet Union or something like that.
That is great. That's a great story, and you're right. And we do have the audio for you today of the nice lady who said, I fled Brazil. Don't let the United States become Brazil, and we'll have that for you coming up. Great stuff. And Billy, I think you kind of gave away your identity. I know you're not keeping it secret or anything, but you said you didn't want to say what major news organization you worked for in Moscow.
I didn't want to say that. No, I didn't want to say that.
I understand. While the Soviet Union was collapsing, but good story, well told, a lot of fun. Bill, thank you for the call, and we'll have that coming up for you. All right, organizing myself here because, I was busy on the move all weekend long. I didn't have a normal weekend to prepare for my Monday, but we've got plenty of preparation and plenty of topics because the crazy Democrats. Now, I'd like to go back to the telephones once again and speak to Money, calling from Columbia, Maryland. Money, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, I know. I hope you remember me. I fled from Iran.
I do remember you.
Yes. Not from my country, from the regime that the Democratic Party in 1979, Mr. Carter, President Carter, established in Iran. The dictatorial, horrible dictatorial rule. It's not what I'm just saying. The documents are available. Declassified CIA documents are available in the Library of Congress, and anybody can go and read them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have always wondered, why do they call themselves Democrats? Mm-hmm. While they are not Democrats, they are dictatorial, they are communist. And this is what their system is, and this is what now establishing in this country that I have taken for freedom and democracy, to live in freedom and democracy. They are taking this country from me too.
Wow.
And this is sad, because they have no shame, and they what democracy? It's shame. The word democracy is not what they are doing. What they are doing is dictatorial rule. It's Marxism they are establishing in America.
You mean just because they're abusing the FBI and the Justice Department and sicking the FBI and the DOJ on their political enemies and abusing the intelligence community to lie to the American people about the Hunter Biden laptop because they saw it as a threat to their chances of winning the presidential election, and they're bankrupting the country, and they're turning boys into girls and girls into boys, and denying science and dismantling millennia, literally multiple millennia of Western civilization and of common sense and of the accumulated knowledge of humankind being unraveled right before our very eyes to benefit one political party, the Democrat Party. Is that what you're talking about, Money?
Exactly. Look at what they have done to the media. The majority of media of this country are dictatorials. They work for them. And George Soros just bought, as you just said that, he bought all those other parts of the media. So this is a system that is being established in this country that I really wish that my grandchildren would be living in freedom and democracy. But unfortunately, they're not going to see democracy and freedom either.
Money is one. I made a reference a little bit earlier in this hour to people that have fled communist countries who will tell you that what they're seeing here is frightening, and then came money.